Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our post-midnight session. In this one, I'm going to try to round up everything, discuss some more advanced sales strategies, discuss the benchmarks that we need to aim for, and just give you some concepts that you should be aware of when you're um, moving on to this process. So the first one is the problem solution matrix. The thing is, even in gap selling, people are coming to you because they have problems. The thing is, you need to be aware of what that likely problem will be and what the solution of that problem is, and just think about that and have that in one place before that even starts, right? So I remember I used to do this at the workshops that we would have, where we would get all of these business owners, and I knew the sales conversation I was going to have with all of them. And I knew about their business a little bit, and I had the pre-sale questionnaire sometimes I didn't. I would look them up online. I would just research overall and make a list of different issues I think they were likely going to have. In this case, it might be um, they tried a supplement or they tried this diet, didn't work. They don't have the time, they feel too overweight, or whatever their struggle is. Make a list of those. I'd list down the likely root cause of it so you can tell that to them, and then list down how you can fix that for them, right? Your role is to anticipate the problems they're likely going to have instead of being the person who is worried about what others think of them. Um, because everybody's thinking about themselves. But like, judge others. I know this sounds kind of controversial, but like we do that naturally all the times. You want to be able to predict their behavior and you want to be able to have a list of issues that they will likely come up with, and you want to be able to know how you will respond to them because you have had this conversation multiple times. Imagine having the same conversation multiple times and still being horrible at it, right? So that's what we're going to try to avoid here. And even more important thing is the more you can control the flow of the conversation, which is dependent on how prepared you are for it, the better you will be able to sell them. And the less shocked you would be, and especially if you're starting out. This is one of the best and most important things I could do. Like you can predict, you can anticipate the things and how it will play out, and then you can make notes and just literally think about it. Sit down and think, like, if I have this sales call, how will it play out? Well, this is an area where I think I'm going to be weak in. Well, let's list that down. So this is just like a sample problem solution matrix that I built over here. Sorry about that. So symptoms, if they tell you have tried diets but can't stick to it, root cause is likely they have unsustainable nutrition plans or they're not flexible. Impact on their life will likely be yo-yo weight gain, low confidence, whatever. Solution could be a flexible, personalized nutrition plan that fits their lifestyle and preferences. I lose weight, but I gain it back. No long-term behavior change or accountability. Solution, consistent accountability and habits-based coaching. So try to already know the problems and the symptoms they will come up with. What is likely the root cause of that problem? How is that likely affecting them? And how we can resolve it so you can take the flow of the conversation the way you want it to be, right? Now, the next thing besides this that you should definitely do is record your sales calls. All right. Like whether it is because like take advantage of everything you're doing, use it to your benefit. Whether it's so you can look at them later and look at the areas you need improvement in, so you can work on those, especially the calls that you crushed in and the calls you were horrible in. You want to be able to know how they played out so you can differentiate between them. Definitely record those, right? And the other thing you could potentially do is in the future when you're successful and when you're making a lot of sales, especially if these calls were happening virtually, you can look back at how you used to perform and how far you've come. And that's a pretty decent feeling. And I look at my first sales that I used to do and I was just so bad at them. And maybe when I would look back at the sales I'm doing these days, and I might have a similar reaction, but having that piece of evidence over there is something that you would definitely be grateful for having it being a part of your business journey. And also, once you actually listen to yourself actually selling, you'd want to you want to jump in a river because it's that like we think in our head we are just crushing the sales conversation, but in reality, sometimes we're not executing as well, right? And you won't know that until you can see it. Record your calls. Uh, Third one being, don't sell to people who are not the right fit. Don't sell to weirdos. If somebody is a bit off, if somebody has like expectations that are not aligned with what you have to offer, also don't use this reason as an excuse to fail at sales, because when you are not able to close, you just label that person as not being the right fit. But generally, you'd find people who are crazy, who want a lot, they make the most complaints, they're not willing to pay enough. And they're the ones who end up taking the most time, and the good clients come at the cost of the bad ones. Because if all of your mental space is being taken up by weirdos or by clients who are not the right fit, either they're too demanding or they're too negative or they're too complacent, find better ones, right? Especially in the beginning, just I would be fine with taking anyone with a pill, especially once you get your cash flows going, because maybe right now you're not in a position to know what client is good and what's not good. So you need that experience anyways to deal with idiots and learn what they look like. But like in general, try to avoid people who are going to hurt your business in the long run, right? That's the other thing. Okay, consistency and volume is king. This is going to be the fourth takeaway. So, what would happen is quite often you do sales one day or for like a week, and then you stop doing it because it's difficult and because it's taking too much time. You need to habituate yourself to it, right? You need to do it consistently. You need to perform consistently. That's why. Forget about rejections and everything else. So here's something that I think I once learned from Hormozy that said that they're like they're dogs, they're horses, and then they're tigers. So he was categorizing salespeople. So dogs need to be rewarded all the time, and they need to have constant attention, and they need positive reinforcement all the time. And if they don't get that, they get sad and they don't perform, and they just like are dependent on the salesperson, everybody else feeding them leads all the time, right? There are horses which can keep on walking, but you need to gallop them. You need to sort of keep them in check. Then there are tigers, and a tiger can eat a full meal, and a rabbit walks by and he would kill the rabbit because he will do it for sport. So you want to approach sales as like a killer mentality that you're walking in because you want to see how better you can be at this, because you want to do sales, you genuinely want to help people, and it is something that you actually enjoy and want to improve. And you would do this regardless, like even if it's not the reality. Try to, especially in the beginning, induce those behavior traits in you. Like you want to at least do your first 200, 300 sales calls or one-on-ones or conversations before you start judging whether you're good or not, right? And it's like the input-output equation. How many sales calls would it take for you to get the clients you need? 100, 200, 300. Even if your closing rate is extremely horrible, which it definitely won't be, considering the process we are following and everything else. How many reach outs would it take? What would it take for you to be extremely proficient at it? Well, if you did 10,000 sales calls, you would be one of the best salespeople, right? So how long would it take you to get there? Let's take 1,000. If you do 1,000, you'd be pretty good. If you closed 1,000 deals, you'd be excellent. So set that target and try to get to that level, because that skill and that goal and that milestone that you're able to reach is going to change your life. Like sales can change your life. This skill, persuasion, you can apply that everywhere. You can apply that when you're getting mentors. You can apply that when you're getting affiliates. You can apply that when you're trying to get relationships or get your existing partner to do something you want. Persuasion is one of the most important skills. And this is us learning it in real time. So do it for fun, but also get results, right? Next one is the benchmarks that we can follow. Ideally, we want to aim for, okay, so this thing depends if you're selling high ticket or low ticket. So for high ticket, they're generally lower. For low ticket, they should be a bit higher, depends on the program as well. Um, but I'm just gonna give these to you as like general idea. You want your you want to have at least, especially for medium to high ticket, like let's say 500 to $5,000 programs, 500 to $3,000 programs, right? At least try to have 20% of your leads converted into sales. That's the benchmark you want to aim for. If you have better than that, then you're doing good. If you're not reaching that target, then you should be able to reach that target because that's something that like it's very consistent across industries and multiple people have done it, right? So it might play out like this. You get like, let's say, it depends on the mode of execution as well. If you're doing webinar, you might have um, like generally the cost per leads for free offers is going to be similar regardless. The only thing that changes is what happens later. So let's say we are running a free challenge, a free webinar, a giveaway, or something like that. If your lead cost is lower than $25 per lead, you're good. If it's less than $10, you're great. If it's between 10 to 15, that's like generally the sweet spot that I'm fine with. Right. I've had them as low as 5, 6, $2 even. Also depends on the country you're advertising in. Now, out of those leads for webinars, you might have like 20 to 25% show up rates, right? If you're doing the nurturing properly, you can increase that even more. For you booking in appointments for the challenge or for them coming in onto one-on-one virtual calls, you want to book at least, schedule at least 60% of those leads into actually booking in, and then out of those schedule, have at least 50% of the ones that have scheduled to actually be present on the meeting. Like strive for those numbers, right? So that means like if you had 100 leads, out of those 100, you had like 60 who scheduled, and out of those 60, you got 30 who showed up. That's something you can strive for. If you can do more than that, then that's even better. Now, then out of those 30, you need to be able to close, like try to aim for around 30 to 50% closing rate because these people are warm. And obviously the rest that are coming in your database is building, we can retarget them and re-nurture them. But if you're also depends, like this is for medium to high ticket. So for the ones who are actually showing it and you're doing one-on-one conversations with them, you need to be able to close at least 30 to 50 of those, to 50% of those, right? So let's say if you have 30 people, try to close at least 10 out of those 30 people, right? And that would be like 33%. So that would take your overall conversion rate for out of 100 leads to be 10 closes. Try to have at least 15 to 20%. And that can further be improved through better lead nurturing processes and other methods. But like if you're closing, because then you can also resell the ones and downsell the ones and do other ways, right? So generally it does increase. But like if you're able to do this and let's say it's costing you $20 a lead and 100 leads are for $2,000 and you closed 10 of those on, let's say, a $500 program. So you made $5,000 and you spent $2,000 on ads, right? Well, let's say instead of closing those on 500 because we are aiming to sell high ticket and there is an LTV of the client overall, or after the 500 you plan on sending them. So let's say if the client on average was worth 3,000. So you made $30,000 by spending $2,000 on ads. Not a bad ROI, right? Definitely good. So if you're able to pull that off, which you should be able to easily based on everything I've covered here, um, that is like, and your cost per sale. So if I would to do the maths, would probably end up being like $100 or $200 per sale, right? That's still fine. That's still worth it. Even if it's higher, even if it costed you like, and let's say your numbers drop because when you sell high ticket, your numbers are not as high. Even if it's costing you $700 to $1,000 to sell a $5,000 client, you still have a positive ROI. And you can keep on doing this over and over again and keep on doing it with the volume. So even if your process is inefficient somewhere and you're still working on perfecting it, If instead of selling like $30 memberships or selling low ticket products, if you can successfully close on high ticket based on the processes, your lead flow is good, your show up rates are decent, your closing rate is decent, you can perfectly scale this model. And that's like benchmarks that are worth striving for, right? But obviously, you can improve this as much as you want. But I just want to set this like try this, like this is like bare minimum that you should be able to do. If your sales skills are really good, like you're closing 70% of the leads, the show up rates are 70% because you're personally calling every single person, you're sending them personalized videos, you're doing everything. Your leads are like really cheap, like they're $6 a lead. So your overall LTV to CAC ratio might end up being significantly higher than this. Because at every single level, if you can increase the lever to more, like if our cost per lead instead of being $25 is like $5, then it's five, like you have 5 times better ROI just by making the leads cheaper. If you increase the show up rate by, if you double the show up rate, if it was like 30% of the total leads, now instead of those 30%, you take that to like 60%. You also, again, double your overall revenue, even if your closing rate remains the same. If you double your closing rate, same thing happens, right? So obviously at every single level of the business, lead gen, lead nurture, sales, fulfillment, retention, and ascension, there can be like significant leverage and results you can get by playing with them. But we'll get to that in the future lessons as well. But still, these are the things that I wanted to cover in this chapter, and I will see you guys in the next video.